One thing I wanted to ask you, and this, not to go kind of dark right away, but, we all walk through Ronnie and Darrin.
Yeah.
And I believe that didn't you have to, weren't you the one? And again, I hate to go to a very sad place, but I just had so much honor and respect for you in that I believe you were the one that actually had to go to the site. Was that right? Is that my history right?
I did. That was that'll always, be something I remember, not for good memories, but there were some that came out of it, but really tough days. I had to go identify them, when they had been in the accident, and then I actually went with a policeman to tell their parents
Mm,
that they had passed. And to this day, I've told this story a few times. When I went to Ronnie's parents, and Ronnie had a great family, and what a great young man. I loved coaching him.
mhm.
And I looked in the window, and his parents were watching TV and just laughing, out loud. And I thought, in 10 seconds, I'm going to tell them that their son's passed. And
Wow.
so, to this point in my life, and probably will always be the hardest thing I've ever done,
Wow.
is to walk up to that door and to tell them that Ronnie had been in an accident. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then all that happened after that, there was a lot of healing,
Mhm.
and people coming together. And it was a great thing that the coaches in the conference actually decided they wanted to have a Ron Holmes Award for the best player in the conference every year.
Yep.
And that meant a lot to us. We had his family come in, and they would present that at times. And so, and I even have some contact still with his sister, Joy.
Boy. Yep. Mhm.
She was a fabulous player at Purdue, the player of the
Yep.
decade there.
Yep.
And if people don't know, her son is
Mhm.
Gary Harris, who
Right.
plays for the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets starts for them. And so, I've sent her a lot of pictures of Ronnie, and we just don't talk a lot, but we've stayed in touch.
Yeah. Incredible family. Ronnie lived right next door to me my sophomore year. So I had Chris Maston as was my roommate for
Yeah.
and then Ronnie and Darrin were right next door in the old dorms. And then we had Shu and Bill Hines were next to them, and Van Fossen and Wells were next to them. So that was kind of our row. And my weekends were pretty boring because they were always all gone. But
Right.
man, I love Ron and Darrin. And there's and many people that know me, I've talked about him so many years since then. The fact that no greater impact, and I think you probably remember this, his funeral or his visitation, the line was out the door and around the
Right.
block. We were
Right.
2 hours late. My parents came down to take me because I was pretty distraught. That was really, really hard. And
Yeah.
my parents came down, we got lost, and we finally got there like 2 hours late, and the line was still out the door down the round and around the block. Just an impact of what an incredible impact he was, and Darrin as well. Like,
Yeah.
just love those guys. And I didn't mean to go to that place, but I know you were connected with them as well.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great memories. We always want to remember people before all that happened. And
Right.
I love Darrin, and Ronnie was, he was somebody that really helped a new coach
Yep.
get adjusted. And he was the star of the team, he and Steve Gregory,
Mhm.
and they accepted me with open arms after having a good experience with Bernie Bilikian and all that. And so that meant a lot to me. And that, I think, that kind of set the scene for us to have a really good year that first year. And I always was indebted to them for that. And Ronnie was something special. He had me laughing so much of the time. And but he was a great player to coach.
And he loved everybody the same. Didn't matter who you were. He loved everybody the same. Just
Yeah, and I can remember him befriending, just kids that would come in the gym, and people that a lot of other people didn't give much time to. And Ronnie never met a stranger.
nope.
Yeah.
And that taught me a life lesson, Coach. It really did. It really, really did. I learned a lot in his passing. I learned how you treat people,
Yeah.
and I've taken that with me the rest of my life. And the same with Darrin, both of them. But so let me ask you this, and I definitely want to get into where you are today and what you're doing. But let me ask you one more question. What was it like as a coach? How do you take a team in a moment like that and then find a rallying point? Like, how do you bring a team together as a coach? Because I coach a little bit myself, but I'm always intrigued by how coaches handle adversity, and that's the ultimate adversity right there, is to lose your star player in a tragic instant moment. How do you go from that to get your team back together and really become a family?
Well, it wasn't easy by any stretch, and we had our high points and we had some real low points, especially those that were close to Ronnie and Darrin. We spent a lot of time praying
Yeah.
and meeting together and just kind of talking through it. And every once in a while, we'd have to kind of talk through it again.
Mhm.
And of course, even expectations changed on what kind of season we would have when you lose somebody like Ronnie, because we had lost Steve as well to graduation,
Yeah.
and so we were just a different team. But I really admire those guys. I think we pulled through it. It wasn't always easy, but you have to just let them grieve.
Yeah.
And then at times you had to put it aside and say, hey, we got a game to play. Let's
Mhm.
stick together. And a lot is they say many times, it can either destroy a team or it can bring a team together. And I think more so it brought us together. I won't say that, we had our moments where it was pretty tough,
Yeah.
but I'd say overall that group really came together.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a credit to your leadership, because they're going to look to you as that almost a father figure in that moment. Like, none of us knew what to do. None of us had ever, I don't think most of us had never experienced something like that, especially so quickly. And so, as a campus, we were hurting, but I can't imagine a team. And,
Yeah.
you did a great job. And
Well, I remember coming back from, when everybody kind of found out that it happened, and I came back to my house. We were living on Coshocton Avenue at that point, and I don't know if you were over there, but my house was just packed full of students, and we were all just kind of coming together to work our way through that thing. So
Yeah, we went over to Sugar Street because that's where those guys all lived.
Okay.
And we went to Sugar Street, and anyway, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that, but thank you for your leadership during that time.
Sure.
Because that, and especially you had to do so. I got honestly a little choked up when you were talking about going to his family's house.
Mhm.
I can't imagine what that's like, and that's
Hope I don't have to ever do it again.
right. Absolutely. So, well, let's move on to brighter days.